Hello and welcome back to this second part of this series of tutorials for making virtual reality experiences for Android. So these are ones that will work on an Android phone. So it's probably the cheapest and easiest way to make some VR applications. So I've installed the Google VR for Unity cardboard package, which is here, which I did, and I've set up the interface and all the settings that I need to do to create this. So if you haven't done that yet, maybe go back and look at the previous video. Now there's a little problem that occurs with this camera moving, right? So when you add it and make it into a VR camera and you press play, sometimes it moves a bit. So a little trick to fix that, just go into the hierarchy, right click, create empty, and I'm going to call this player view. Player view, and you put the camera into it. Now the player view is at position 0, 0, 0, X, Y, and Z. The camera then, if I'll make those 0, 0, and 0 as well, and then drag the camera into the player view like that. Right. Now I can move player view around and do different things to it, and the camera won't move. If you don't do that, once you start in the VR, the camera moves, right? So that's a little way of fixing that. So now if I look at my game, so I'm looking at the sky there, and if I press play, that's all I see, and the camera's static. I can't look around. So obviously in VR you want to be able to look around. So the way you do that is just go down here to your assets, and there's an asset in Google VR which will turn the static camera into a VR one. So just go to search here and just search GVR editor, and you'll find it there. Click on that, drag it in like that. Now when I press play, I can look around. So the way you look around is by pressing Alt. So you can see the scene moving. So I can look left to right, up and down, and if you press Control, you can also look left to right, or look on the axes like that. So I've now turned the camera from a static one into a virtual one, which allows me to look around. Now I'll go back to the scene. So what I'm going to do is make a floor here, right? So Unity has some primitive type shapes that you can use. So just go up to Game Object, 3D Object, and I'm going to use a cube to make a floor. So go across to Cube. Oops. Just moved away from it a bit there. Now here's my cube, and you can see it's in the same spot as the camera. Just a bit about looking around. If you click down on your mouse wheel, you can move around like that. If you use the right mouse button, you get this eye, and you can look from different angles. You can zoom in and out with the mouse wheel. Up here there's this thing called a gizmo, and you can rotate around or above or below your cube like that. So once I've selected the cube, I can move it. So if you look up here on the top left, you've got the hand for moving the scene around. You've got the move tool, so I can move my cube around like that. And you've also got the rotate, so I can rotate it. I'm not going to do that now. And then you've got the scale tool, so I'm going to use that one to make my floor. So you can see here my cube has got some handles on it now. If I drag one down, I can make my floor nice and thin. And if I get the box in the middle, I can make myself a nice space like that for a floor. Okay, just going to make it thin like that. So now my camera is sitting above this floor. So just have a look at that. Look in game, and if I press play, I can look around. Now the floor is a little bit boring there, so what I'm going to do is give it a material. So there's a really nice website called CCO Textures, and they've got all these free materials. So looking at here, you can find lots of different materials that you can add. So I'm just going to go with this one here, paving stones. So just click on that, and maybe here's the one I want. Select that one, and I'm going to download it. So it's a 2K. No point getting the very high resolution ones for a phone, so just selecting 2K there, and it's downloading. Okay, I'll just get rid of this. Doesn't matter. Okay, so it's downloading and it's a zip file. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to unzip it and bring it into Unity. So I want my floor here to be like paving stones. So you can get whatever you want. You can even put a color or whatever you want on it. So here it is. Right click and extract it. Okay, so here it is. And I'm just going to bring that folder into Unity. So just go to downloads, 2K paving stones, drag it down, and it's into Unity. These will be a little bit big, so it'll take a few seconds. And that website there has got loads of free textures that you can use if you want to use any of them. Okay, so here it is. Here's my paving stones, and I got a few different ones. And all I have to do is just go to the scene view and drag them on. So I'm going to go with this one here. Drag it on. If I look in the game, I've got them there. And they're very big, so what I might do is just go to into the inspector, right? So I've clicked on the cube, and you can see here's my paving stones, and I've got my settings here for it. Okay, so looking in the, when I press play, if I look around, you can see that, right? Now with VR, you're going to have to experiment a little bit to get your camera at the right height. So it's a bit low there, so I'm just going to move it up a bit like that. You really can only tell when you got the headset on, so see what that looks like. Okay, I think that looks okay. And there's my adding a texture. Next thing I want to do is just maybe make a little model, right? So I'm going to go into the scene here, and I'm going to make a table, for example. So assets, create 3D object, and I'm going to get another cube, just move it up a bit. This is going to be the table leg. So resize it. Let me look at it from above there, try and get a table leg kind of thing. Okay. Might move it up a little bit. Okay, so that might be okay. Now that's one leg. Copy and paste is your friend in Unity, so just Control D will copy it. Control D. So I've got two table legs. And now if I press Shift and select both of them and Control D again, and I'm just going to go to the side here. I've got 4 table legs. And now I'm just going to put a top on the table. So game object, I'll use another cube, and I'm going to make the top of the table. If I look at it from above, okay, something like this, and move it over. Okay, and I might just make the top of the table a bit thinner. And you can see here it's not actually touching the legs, so move down another little bit. Straighten it up, and I can use the gizmo there to move around and just get it the right size. Something like that. Okay, so there's my table. And what I might do is give that a texture. So back to this side here, and I'll just get like wood maybe, and get a nice wooden texture for my table. Just pick something simple. Go with this maybe. And the same as with the previous one, download it. So it's downloading pretty quickly. Here it is. extract it all, and then drag the folder into Unity. So here it is, TK wood, drop that down in here, and I'm going to make my table, a wooden table. So let that extract. So here it is, and there's the table leg, just drag it on. Okay. And don't forget the other legs. And the table. So I might just look and see what that looks like in the game. So press play, and there's my there's my table. Okay. Now, if you look over here in the hierarchy, you'll see here now I've got the ground. This one is the ground. If I click on scene, and then I got the different parts of my table. Good idea with Unity is to start naming things and keep things named. So here's the cube. I'm going to call that floor. Now, once you've got something that's made out of a couple of different pieces, a good idea is to tidy it up a bit. So I'm just going to right-click here, create empty, and I'm going to call it table. And then I get my pieces of the table and drag them in. So now it's all one. So if I want to move this now, I just have to click table and the move tool, and I can move it around wherever I want. Another cool thing you can do is go drag the whole thing down into your assets here, and it makes it into a prefab. So now that table's been made, I can add as many as I want. You only have to do it once, so if I drag it in, I can have lots of tables if I want. And just have a quick look at that. Okay, so that is just making something. Okay, next thing then I might take a look at is some of the other objects. A 3D object, cube we looked at. You can make a sphere, a capsule, a cylinder, a plane, a quad. Text Mesh Pro, that's for adding text. Ragdoll, that's if you're adding like a animated body maybe. Terrain, so if you want to make mountains and trees and stuff. Trees, wind zone, right? So, and 3D text. So I'm going to put in a sphere. Okay, so I just want to put it where I can see it. So I'm going to move it over. All right, so that should be okay. I'll just put it over the table. Let's have a look in the game. Which way is my camera looking? Okay, so I can see it there. So there's this ball, or sphere, floating there. And I want to just have it over the table. Now, besides adding a texture, you may want to add a color. So you'd think you could just click on it and select a color, but Unity doesn't let you do that. You have to create a material. So down here, just do a right click, create material. Okay, and I'm going to call it sphere. Okay. Now the reason it does this is because you may want to use the same color or the same application later on. So by creating material, it's handy because later on, if you want to make something the same color with the same settings, you just drag this onto it. So here's my sphere, and I'm going to give it a color. So I'm just going to make it red, right, like that. Now you got metallic and smoothness. So metallic makes it more shinier. So I'm going to I'll put them up to full and smoothness. And if I drag that onto my sphere, you can see it floating there. So I'll just have a look. Press play. Press Alt to look around. So there it is, floating there. Now, because it's just floating there, what I might want to do is add some mass to it, because it's not very realistic. So the way you do that is you want to add some weight to the ball, and also want it to bounce off things. So the way you do that is just click on the sphere, and go over to its inspector, and you want to give it a rigid body. So you just click add component and type in rigid body like that. Now here's its mass, drag, angular drag. So there's a couple of things there. Use gravity. So if I press play now, it should drop. Okay, again, that's okay. Not very realistic though. So what I want to do is give it a bit of a bounce. So go down to your project, right click, and we need to create a physics material. So go up to create and go to physics material, which is here, and I'm going to call this bounce. Okay. And that's a material now which I can apply to the ball. Up on the inspector then you got the features of this bounce. So I'm just going to make bounciness. I'm going to make it up to 1. There's some others here if you want to make it bounce more. Bounce, combine, friction. So I'm just going to go maximum like that, and just drag that onto the bouncy ball now, onto the ball. Right, you can see in the inspector it's been added here. So sphere collider, material, bounce. So that's the thing I just made there. So if I press play now, it should bounce. Okay, so I've got a bouncing ball. And it's very bouncy. Okay, so that's another little introduction there. So how about what I might do is just make lots of bouncing balls. So I'm just going to go Control D, make another one, and I'm just going to move the positions of them. If I press Shift, Control D again, I'm going to have 4. Again, you can move them individually or all together. Now I'll select them all. Control D. Might put a few up really high and maybe behind the player there. And then again, Shift, get them all. Control D, and maybe I'll rotate them around. So just go like this. Get a lot of bouncy balls there, and I'll put these ones up really high. Okay, see what that looks like. Okay, so got all these bouncy balls around the place. So that's the second part of the tutorial. So what we did was added a material to an object, cube, we added a ball, and we added some physics to it as well. Now they're way too bouncy, but in the bounce you can turn down that bounciness so it's not jumping around like that, but it's kind of fun. Feels a bit like you're in some strange world here. So that's the second one. The next tutorial then will be on along soon.